put you to sleep. Yeah, like that. God bless Steve King. God bless Steve King, said the hero of the Klan culture, which is essentially as American as Louisiana, David Duke. Duke was reacting to King's assertion in 2015 that we're diluting our national identity and culture by welcoming immigrants. King said before that occasion that white people in rural places need to have more babies to preserve that culture. He is pro-life. From King's Sac County perspective, it makes sense. Rural schools now carry names like OABCIG, Odebel Arthur, Battle Creek, Ida Grove. Not enough babies. Enrollment at Lorenz Marathon in Buena Vista County is down 40% over the past 15 years. Down 24% at Galva Holstein, which is now Ridgeview, along with Shaler Crestland. Some of these schools have only enough players to put 8 boys on a football field. Those few babies born in these small rural counties grow up, grow beards, and can't wait to get out of northwest Iowa for the big city, where they can get a job to maintain a culture that they shook off their boots. Not a lot of jobs in Kyron, Iowa, population 273. Civilization is under siege then in places like Storm Lake, where we're having the wrong kinds of babies. They're babies born to people who weren't babies born here themselves. Natal nabobs of cultural deconstruction and dissimulation. They're coming out the windows of the Storm Lake schools, babies everywhere, and they want to stay here. The son of a dad who works his own store during the day and the night shift at Tyson. That's not the culture King has in mind. There are just a couple blondies in Storm Lake's second grade of 180 students. Who will carry us forward? King says it's about culture, not race. If you were born here ignorant, you are of our culture. If you grew up hearing Lee Greenwood sing "God Bless the USA," then your children will appreciate Lee Greenwood, the logic would go. If you move here smart, you should just keep on moving and don't drop a baby while squatting on my land. The land we took from the original civilizers, as it were, the Iowa and Sac and Fox and Dakota. King is a modern apologist for the tradition of Henry Lott. Am I that different from him? I walked into the bar and grill off the Courthouse Square in Rockwell City, about 40 miles east of Storm Lake, on a recent noonday. The main thing the town has going for it is a minimum security prison and a subway on the highway. The small town cafes can't compete with the pizza at the convenience stores anymore or the subway. I rolled through the door and got the hairy eyeball from a guy my age in a crew cut and t-shirt. I wore a white shirt, blazer, and Wranglers. I looked down at him, seated at the table with 3 other working men. He thinks people have been looking down at him since junior high school. I smiled, nodded my head, and said hi. He did not smile and said nothing. The Iowa Convention is to greet everyone you see, either with a hello or with the famous index finger wave from the steering wheel to every vehicle you meet.
Yes.
Why do people vote for Steve King and Donald Trump? He wants to flip the bird, not the index finger, to the power centers in Washington and New York and Chicago. California too, and actually so do I. He knows it won't do any good, but people will get the message. We're sick and tired of it. Those people who flew the coop are making out like bandits shuffling paper in Des Moines, and the rest of us are shoveling manure from a hog confinement pit.
Yeah.
People who don't speak English in front of him at the supermarket checkout were using food stamps, and that honks him off. Despite his school taxes going down, he thinks they're going up because of immigrants. Or at least they could be lower were it not for them. Nobody gives him a break. Young black men could be going to college but for free, but they riot in the streets. Nobody gave him a full ride. I've heard him or his country cousins say all this in venues just like Rockwell City. This man whom I'm culturally profiling in the local grill makes just too much to get a subsidy on Obamacare, and his premiums are higher than they used to be. Try to remind him how his life has improved. He might remind you how manufacturing left Iowa for Mexico, and still, Mexicans are moving in around him, or at least close enough, and getting food stamps and not paying taxes. That's what people are told, and that's what they repeat. When you see your position erode relative to everyone else, you want to blame those people who are coming in and changing everything. Repeat it often enough, and I'd have it affirmed repeatedly on every media channel available to you by your own congressman, and you begin to believe your own story. I could attempt to understand him, or I could just eat my cheeseburger and smile at the tremendously friendly waitress. It was faster, cheaper, and better than a fast food burger place. I told her so, and she so appreciated it. She was a friend of my peer with whom I locked eyes. They laughed together. Can he be as intolerant as I thought he was when we first met? Digestion made me start to think about how I look at my peer the same way he imagines me, or the brown man who lives next door to me and whom Steve King and Donald Trump want to deport. The diner and I suppose we have nothing to say to each other, not even hello. But if we did get over that hump of just looking at each other and thinking we don't like each other, that guy might say he wants to deport my neighbor, a dreamer. But I don't think he really wants to. He sees his destiny slipping away and can't do much about it. Just like in school, when the bully lays it on you, then you look for someone weaker to lay it on. You always have to have somebody to fight. The Latina can't fight back. Well, he really doesn't want to deport that nice college girl when it comes down to it. But you do need a secure border. Whatever happened to the rule of law? And King may be out there, but he speaks his mind. He's not afraid of the system or the man. That's freedom in its purest expression. My peer at the table wishes he could speak his own mind, probably to his banker and his boss and his lawyer and the county treasurer where he pays his property taxes. But that newspaper editor would never run his letter, and if the paper did run it, they'd want to put his name on it. He has enough trouble. King appears to offer him a way out by challenging all the forces of change that bring nothing but more isolation to a man in Rockwell City. I can see it and feel it among my friends. I spring from the same ground and drink from the same well and sing the same fight song, yet we tread in and out of parallel realities. The premature death rate among white men with a high school diploma or less is rising, while the same rate among blacks and Latinos is declining. The researchers from the University of Wisconsin say that the self-perception of being stigmatized as rednecks by so-called elites drives them to internalize the stigma and causes their own self-destruction. By suicide, by opiate, by meth, by tobacco, by liver disease, the data about rural mortality say. For sure the liver disease around here, and the suicides, and for sure the smoking, even though they won't allow it at the corner bar anymore. 30 years ago, an old boy would have asked, "Hey, where are you from? I see you got BV County license plates." Storm Lake. The walleyes hitting? You got half an inch of rain last night, so they might not be settled down. We don't ask each other anymore. It's hard to have a prejudice against someone you know. If you could break the ice, they might ask you today, "Storm Lake, how you dealing with all those Mexicans? Pretty bad, huh?" "No, it's really pretty good," I say, when I do get that chance to look eye to eye and not down. Yes. They're surprised, and they start to think about it. King doesn't need to talk that way, and generally my friends agree. If you can just visit, you can change hearts and minds. Most anyway. Or at least get them to think about the brown guy like I'm trying, at least, to think about my peer in the bar and grill. It's more difficult all the time to have those conversations when our shields are up, when we're cocooned among friends on Facebook, conditioned by the constant ideological, cultural, and class battle in which Iowa is set.